InBiz at Belfast89fm, the programme that's all about business and for business in and around Belfast. I'm Michelle Estes and you're very welcome to today's show. I just want to say how delighted I am to be doing this Monday afternoon feature. It's the first business feature for Belfast 89 FM and just so exciting. Of course, a big thank you to Johnston for giving me the space in his show and to bring the business community to you every week. I want it to be exciting, interesting and keeping you up to date on what is happening in the business world that affects all of us as consumers in and around the city. So today I'm going to kick off with a really interesting perspective on business. The truth is, business doesn't always get the best press. We can be all too ready to complain, can't we? We go to the local petrol station at 12 midnight and, lo and behold, it's not open. But let's take a real look. Look at how so many businesses rose to the challenge during lockdown. We had the local corner shops who were delivering food to the elderly and those who had to isolate, and we had many retailers who contributed significant amount of food to food banks over lockdown. Well, we now have a local business owner here in Belfast who's taken this community spirit to a whole other level. David Johnston was studying for his degree in Scotland, and as a hobby he was also doing some photography around the streets of Edinburgh. So he got to speak with a lot of people, including of course the homeless. And then he was so motivated by some of the stories that he wanted to do something to help homeless people feel valued. So he decided in his wisdom to come back here to the city and set up his company OutsideIn. The business now supports a number of charities for the homeless here in the city, and he has a very specific business model that he calls Wear One, Share One. So David, you're very welcome to the programme today.
Thanks for having me.
So David, tell us a little bit about it. So explain about OutsideIn. So if I'm a customer and I buy one of your fleece tops, do I also buy another top for someone who's homeless, or how does it work?
So we call it Wear One, Share One. And basically how that concept works is every time you purchase one of our items online, we provide another item for someone experiencing homelessness. So what we do is we chat to the charities and we see what are the most required and needed items for people who are going through and transitioning through homelessness. So it's never like for like, and sometimes it is when it comes to headwear, but at the moment we are actually doing t-shirts that have been a kind of part of our summer collection of Wear One, Share One. So anytime you buy a t-shirt, a sweater or a fleece, we give a t-shirt to someone experiencing homelessness.
So that's really interesting. So you actually match up, I suppose, the seasons as well with what you provide for homeless people, so they're not getting woolly socks in the height of a heat wave. So you work with the charities quite closely then, David?
Yeah, that was really when I started. I was like, I don't want to be creating products just for the sake of products. I want to be starting from what products are needed, and then we'll create collections around those necessities. So at Christmas time, you'll find that socks, you'll find thermal beanies, you'll find blankets, gloves and scarves. Those are the most requested items. Whereas in summertime, I think a lot of us forget that homelessness isn't just a winter thing. There's some lighter socks in there.
Fantastic. And did you see a big difference during lockdown and COVID? I mean, was there a bigger demand, or maybe if there was less homeless people on the streets because they got temporary accommodation, was there less of a problem, or how was it affected?
I think homelessness looked different during lockdown. I think that if you were to look at it from a street point of view, you probably would have said homelessness figures are down. But what was actually happening from the charities that we were speaking to is obviously they were being put into temporary accommodation, whether that's hostels or hotels during the pandemic, but they were still technically homeless and still requiring food, still requiring clothes. So although maybe it wasn't visible, the numbers have risen. And obviously, as we know, jobs are harder to come by at the minute. There's more people who have lost their jobs. So from what we've been chatting to in the charities, numbers have been skyrocketing of people requesting clothing and requesting food.
And clearly, I mean, David, the business has grown from a bedroom in your mum's house. So clearly customers are willing to pay a little bit more. They're willing to come in behind you in terms of what you're trying to do. I mean, the business has grown substantially over the last few years.
Yeah, it's honestly the support we've had in the past 2 years has been phenomenal. And I think the biggest reason it is that probably during isolation, people understand what it's like to lose a job, what it's like to maybe feel isolated. and then can start to empathize with people and what they're actually going through on a day-to-day basis or have been for many years.
Yeah, and I think, I think we'd all agree that people in Belfast are very generous and they do see need on their streets and they do react to that. I suppose one of the things from my point of view is I'm always an advocate that a business generally does have to make profit. Otherwise, it's not a business per se. So there's obviously going to be a big challenge for you. If you're giving products away, so to speak, then you must have a big challenge in getting that balance between keeping the business going, making sure it makes a profit, and also giving product away. How does that work for you?
I think that comes down to an incredible team that we've created here at OutsideIn. I cannot take credit for a lot of those things, and I've had incredible people like one of my friends, James, who's been from the start, and they're great with numbers. I very much always from the start envisaged a company that put quality, dignity, empathy, created products that were the best, and that meant we needed to look at ethical, we needed to look at quality, and also a model that works, as you say, that's profitable, because I think profit is one of those words sometimes in business that we feel like it's just excess money, but for us it's how we can grow it.
Yes, and I suppose even though you're based in Belfast, I'm imagining that your consumer reach goes well beyond the boundaries of the city.
Yeah, I think when we started, I very much had an interest in creating a global brand, and I believe OutsideIn will be one of the biggest clothing brands in the world, with a focus on giving back and how it can give back in so many different ways. But that really, we've seen a lot of people from America, we've seen Ireland, Germany, there's so many different countries who have really, every month on month that we're seeing customers grow in those countries. And I think it's because homelessness isn't just a Northern Ireland issue, it isn't just a Scotland issue, and because of the global issue of homelessness, people around the world can resonate with people living on their street.
I mean, I think, and certainly as we come out of what is happening with us now in terms of the lockdown and getting out of where we're at, I can imagine that we're probably going to have lots more issues. And so, David, I wish you all the best with the future and the business.
Thank you so much. Honestly, thanks for having me today.
David Johnston there from OutsideIn, a great example of how we in the business sector can be helping our local community while also thinking outside the box. Thanks for joining me, and until next week, have a good week and a prosperous week.